There it is. And we're live. We'll give it a few minutes for some people to hop on. But I'm here with Eugene today, and we're going to talk about who should do your service work. Should it be you? Should it be a virtual assistant? Should you hire an employee locally? Or should you leverage the carrier or some sort of FMO that's providing that? And I'm talking about the pros and cons of each, because I'm not going to for a minute say that there aren't pros and cons to each one, right? But it's all about, how am I building a business? And look, there are people, I had some feedback from Medicare Con from a couple of people, for instance, that said Medicare Con seemed like it was really aimed at, bigger agencies this year, not the independent agent. I think that was, and that's on me. It's misinterpretation of what we're trying to say, is that if you're an agent, you should be trying to be bigger and be an agency. So when we have like the behind the agency event, people say, well, I'm not an agency. Well, do you want to be, or do you want to forever be beating down doors, chasing your tail and doing everything yourself? Okay. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, as part of that, we're always going to paint the picture of how do you create a real business. And when you're beginning with the end in mind, when you're thinking about how do other people perceive my business, think about one day when you're deciding, okay, I have built a business that has a, $2 or $3 million net revenue over this amount of time. Are the systems and processes to get there appealing to the private equity groups that might buy me? And if you're saying we don't do any service work, we leverage the carrier or this FMO to do it, probably not going to be all that appetizing to those people. And so what I would say is there's stepping stones to building a business. And the reason I have Eugene on is he's stepping stone one for a lot of these agencies or agents that are trying to break out of, how do I shed this time so that I can either spend more time selling, or do I shed this so that I can spend more time training agents to sell? Because it's always, I got to sell, create revenue, then use that revenue to create that next layer of support so that I can duplicate my efforts in selling or begin to duplicate those efforts in other people. And I'm telling you guys, if you're thinking I'm going to be an agent and I'm going to offload all tasks to someone else, to some other entity, carriers, FMOs, whatever, and I'm never going to hire an employee or a virtual assistant or both, combination of both. I would say over time, a combination of both is very effective. But if you're thinking that, you're definitely going to plateau. Even if you had a great FMO that was helping out a lot of stuff, even if you're writing carriers like Devoted, who does a great job at service, United Healthcare does a great job at service, those carriers do. But we never tell our customers, just call the carrier, Like we do our best. Like when I hear that I have employees that have done that, it's upsetting. At best or at worst, I guess, we might do a three-way call with that customer to the carrier if we have to get the carrier on the phone.
We'll have control over that conversation. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because then I can hear what they're saying, and I can also report back, to the carrier or, whoever. Well, this was said, I just think you guys should look into this as not very becoming, because that does happen. Mm-hmm. So, the way we see it is if you're trying to build a business and service work becomes cumbersome, that if an FMO is going to offer to do your service work for you, there's probably either going to be an expense, or eventually it's going to be an expense, or it's taken out of your comp in some way. Mm-hmm. They're hitting the compensation side to pay for it, because there's only so many pennies in a dollar. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, there are some bad FMOs out there that take way wide margins and don't add any value. But if you have one that's adding value already in some way, it costs money for them to have contracting employees. It costs money for them to have support employees. It costs money. So there's margin. Here's where the margin is. If they're operating within that margin, and then they're like, another one's like, we're doing service work for ours as well. At some point, the margin's completely gone. And so the only way to create margin is to pay the agent less to widen the potential margin and use some of that for that additional service, which is fine. Just know what you're giving up. I think it's much cheaper in the beginning to look at a virtual assistants as an option for service, especially when you have a service like trainvirtualassistants.com where they're actively learning these systems like GoGuru and Agency Block and these commonly used ones, Radius Bob. They're commonly used systems, commonly used practices, and so the trainers are able to quickly replicate within what I would say is probably one of the hardest working cultures in the world, and be able to help you get off the ground for a lot less than it costs and with a lot less, red tape and legal issues of hiring a stateside employee, which, Eugene, I hire a lot of stateside employees. I love them, especially when you can create a great culture like we have. But in the beginning, that can be expensive for someone that's just trying to grow. And TVA, it's a great product.
And you can still have that culture too, on the virtual side, because a lot of the people that we hire, I mean, we have actual relationships with these people. And like even with me personally, because we're a bilingual, trilingual office, it's hiring those people that can speak multiple languages. So even like in the Philippines, we've been hiring people who speak Spanish and helping service the Spanish speaking market, service the English speaking market. And the biggest fear that everybody has is, what if my customers don't understand these people? That's always the biggest objective that we get. And for me, it's like, well, I have my own agency. I know what you, the agent, is looking for also. And there's no way we're going to hire somebody where the customer doesn't understand this person. That is red flag number one for me.
Yeah.
And so, and then the other thing is, the other fears, and you've actually talked about this before, where you say, well, this person is never going to do as good of a job as I am.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is they're not, and they're not supposed to, because this is your business, not their business. But if you can get 2 or 3 people doing 50% as good as you, well, 2 or 3 people later, now you have your 100%.
When I was told, I can't remember where the quote comes from, but look it up later. I know it was someone really smart, and said, if someone or even a group of people can do a task 70% as well as you should stop doing the task at all yourself.
Gary Vaynerchuk.
Is it Gary V? Mm-hmm. So, that's what, I believe that, and I've practiced that. And it's not that I got to the point where I don't do anything. It's just that I elevate what tasks that I'm doing throughout the business all the time. I was just telling you, I'm busier now than ever, but the conversations I'm having are high level. I'm talking to agency principals and FMO principals, and I'm talking to a higher level conversation, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mastermind members on our and agent mastermind total agency transformation package, people that are bringing more value to us, that's worth my time.
Yeah.
So that is absolutely true. And on that front, as you were talking, I was thinking of something. And I know what you said. You have an agency, right? And so you get to learn some of these principles and how you would use and what you would do in your agency. And so some people use that as a negative, and they do this to us too, like on GoGuru, on different things. Oh, you have an agency, so blah blah blah. Not understanding that one, and I'm going to hit this on a couple of different angles. One, train virtual assistants as much a part of your business plan in life as your agency. It's not like the agency trumps that. I know for someone who's singularly focused on as an insurance agent or owns a small insurance agency, they think that's the big business, right? Mm-hmm. Well, for us, GoGuru as a software initiative is as big, and from a membership perspective, and behind the agency as an event, these are as big as the hierarchy, right? Yep. So, or as the agency. Even traditional FMOs that didn't have call centers themselves, which pretty much all of them now, after consolidation, all the biggest entities which own all the other entities now have direct-to-consumer channels. They just do it. That they used to say, well, we don't compete with you. We don't compete with you. I think it's funny because now, even with consolidation in the market, one of the ones that used to say, they used to use that against you, merged with an agency. So now they can't say that anymore.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So because technically it's part of the same business, right? But the thing is, even that group, as well as us and you, we're not using we're using the information we get in growing our agency to help our Go Guru members, to help our TVA users, our virtual assistants users. We're using it to leverage. I think I always flipped it on its head as these people that would say that. I would think, no, we're uniquely positioned to help you based on the information that we know and the understanding we have, and the trial and error, and you can learn from our mistakes and what we spent money on inefficiently, versus, hey, we don't compete with you. Yeah, you don't compete with us because you can't, because you don't know how to, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, are we really competing? First of all, there's 70 million Medicare beneficiaries. Then people are hitting the under 65 market, which is, tens of millions. And there's health. There's so much business.
Yeah.
We're not going to write all of that. We're not going to write all of it. And there's also FTC and trade rules on unfair trade practices, right? So there's so none of that's a problem, really. It was used as to take people who had a really limited viewpoint of business and confuse them into thinking, oh, my FMO doesn't compete with me.
Yeah.
But then, you know what I had? I had FMOs that didn't do direct to consumer, that would share with me other agencies that worked with them's lead sources and marketing, like their entire vernacular and copywriting that they would find and then share it with me to use. And I'm like, so technically you're competing with me by taking my information and sharing it with others that I didn't endorse. So there's no way that that's a real thing. And I only say that because I think it's a scary thing for people, that some of these services that we own agencies, but I think people need to know, Go Guru would do over 500,000 in revenue as part of our business this year.
Yeah.
We're not using it to mine data. That's stupid, and it's illegal. And you're not doing that with trained virtual assistants. This whole purpose, trained virtual assistants, is probably you get more revenue there than you do, I would assume, at least gross revenue, than the agency does, or close to it, or the same.
Yeah.
So
I want to touch on 2 points there real quick. So the first thing is, for somebody to think that you're not going to have any competition in this business is silly. Because even at the carrier level, they have access to all your clients, all your PDP clients, who are your Medicare supplement clients, also get literature too, right? So it always goes down. So now, do we stop writing business with a carrier because we think that they're going to compete with us? No, what we do is we provide that extra level of service first, but also our personality. I can't sell a Justin Brock client. They buy from Justin Brock because they like Justin Brock. If I say, hey, this is Eugene giving you a call, you work with Justin Brock. Oh, how's he doing? Oh, I haven't heard from him in a little while, whatever. If I try to pull that client from you and you did everything right by that client, just again, like with the carrier level, they're not leaving you. They're absolutely not leaving you. So Go Guru, TVA, or any other FMO or any other carrier, it can be very difficult for them to compete with you because your customer's buying from you. That's the first point. The second point, Go Guru was invented for you guys. It wasn't invented for every single agent out there. You guys invented Go Guru for your business, and it was a solution to your business. So the reason why Go Guru exists is because you believe in the product, because you use the product. Wow. Same thing with the behind the agency stuff. The reason why you give it, those systems, you give them away to agents, and I use the word giveaway loosely, but the reason why you give so much value is because you practice those things in your business first. The reason why I started Train Telemarketers in 2017 is because it was a solution for my business first. The reason why I have Data Download Center is because it's a solution for my business first. The reason why I have Trained Virtual Assistants is because it's a solution for my business first. My agency is the umbrella that helps me service other agents' needs, just like you guys. Because I could keep it all to myself and screw you guys, sucks to be you. No, instead, I have a solution. Now, how do I protect clients' information? How do I protect agencies and their personal information? There's HIPAA protection. Everybody goes through HIPAA training. All of our VAs do. And then I have a non-compete, non-disclosure. If you even get a whiff of me trying to take one of your clients, you have every right to come after me because I sign a document that says Eugene Marchenko and American Insurance Benefits and 2MinuteMedicare.com are not going after your clients. Nor would I want to do that. I have too much of my own business to try to go after somebody else's. Nor do I have the volume of agents to go sit there through everybody's book and try to pick off clients. I just don't have that.
I know. Honestly, when I log in, Steven, our CMO, he has me blocked out of seeing everyone's agencies, not because I wanted to, but because he's afraid I was going to mess him up. In Go Guru. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, these services kind of like Retire Flow. I don't know if you met Dalton Miller, but they built that process, that tech process, got it CMS approved for their internal agency. And then the Medicare Con year, not this past one, but the last year, and we're sitting there like, oh, we should extend this service to other people. It wasn't like he just came into as a tech, and there are some companies that come in tech side, not broker first, but there's so many of these services built by brokers for ourselves. And then we're like, why wouldn't we leverage this, create revenue for our business to leverage that system or this service? So yeah, absolutely. And TVA has helped. So, I mean, I get so many, great reviews from people that are using, TVA to outsource different things, and people that I had at this point with trained telemarketers too. We have people that we talk to that have had the same VA for 4 or 5 years straight, and they have great relationships with them. They're sending them Christmas presents and Christmas bonuses. So like you said, we have virtual employees stateside as well, and so anytime you're dealing with virtual, culture is a little bit different, but you still have that relationship that builds. I have my national sales directors in Appleton, Wisconsin. He might as well be in the Philippines. To me, it's like the same thing, to be honest, I'd be more likely to visit the Philippines probably than Wisconsin.
But correct me if I'm wrong in this thinking, and I'm okay with talking about this on live, because if I'm wrong, I want you to call me out. But I would caution an agent working with an agency or an FMO, or really any system, any lead vendor, any CRM company that doesn't really understand insurance and hasn't had a successful business to prove their model. You see all these, I call them failed insurance agents, where they try to sell you leads, but they don't have their own agency. Why? I mean, if the leads are so good, it doesn't take very much to hire somebody.
You hear this feedback. You'll hear it on where people will say it, like on an Instagram video for me, and they'll say something like, if this is so good, you'd be doing it yourself. We do. It's actually the majority of our profit comes from an agency, right? And an internal agency that we continue to scale. We just also know that simultaneously I can leverage that because I've built myself out of the business where I can scale both at the same time. It's not like if Warren Buffett goes to a conference and tells people his viewpoint on investing in the healthcare services industry, that somebody gets up and like, if it was so lucrative, you'd do it yourself. And he's like, I have, several $1 billion invested there. But to your point, there are people out there, and you can identify them with a little bit of research that aren't practicing what they're preaching. That just created a tech solution that they never used for their own business, didn't have a business to actually model it in. Or that have, have a thing where they're like, oh, we're going to do this. I'd also think, like, when you look at private equity, we have private equity that bought 51% of our company through AmeriLife, which AmeriLife does come with a tremendous amount of experience. And then we have SRG involved, which has experience, but we still own and run and own 49% of our business and operate it that way.
Skin in the game.
I have skin in the game. I could have sold more of it, but I wanted as much skin while still taking care of my family, et cetera. But that I'm still doing and practicing what I preach while leveraging that information. On the other side, there's what we call like a private equity startup. And so you'll get this sometimes with tech and now you start seeing it lead into the FMO space. And, you got to worry in the beginning, they're not profitable. So we're at fault as an investment based on our profitability. So mergers and acquisitions go out and find profitable business so that they can package together these businesses, have synergies between them, amplify their success on their net revenue, and then get more private equity to come in and buy that investment as it continues to grow. We call it like flipping EBITDA, right?
Mhm.
But on the startup side, it's like Uber, right? In the beginning, it took years and years and years. I think it was like last year they finally became profitable, right?
Mhm.
So you have to see these groups that'll do that, and so they'll do things that are silly and not profitable, but will they do them forever? And
Mhm.
are contractually binding yourself to someone based on the idea that they're going to do something that over time is changing slowly because it's like, okay, this isn't profitable. But by then they already have you hooked in. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying that these are all bad. There's definitely some groups out there that or that I'm specifically thinking of, obviously, that I'm not going to name. But I'm specifically thinking of some that are good. I think they shake up the market.
Yeah.
Uh, it's kind of funny because I feel like we were shaking up the market from the ground up, bootstrap style before that. And they come in like, look at us, private equity, never sold a policy in our life. Look, we're going to shake up the industry. And it's like, yeah, but you don't really know shit about how to do what you're telling other people to
Right.
do. I've
Yeah.
always been like, I'm not a fan of that. Like, I'm a fan of, finding someone that has done something well, who I can either pay or, partner with
Mhm.
to learn from them. And so I think that's why me and you have always gotten along, Eugene, because you have practiced what you preach. You know how to get on the phone and sell insurance. You know how to hire LOAs to sell. You know how to do some advertising and get things going. And then you know how to leverage the trained virtual assistants and
Mhm.
have that network built with trainers and a plug and play system for that.
And
And
I think, like for me, I struggle every single day with with um, with my agency, right? And like those daily struggles that you have, where Facebook ads are not working, employees are quitting, hiring new people. Look, I'm going through that stuff too. And the best thing, what I like about all these systems, traintelemarketers.com is run by my VAs.
mhm,
Datadownloadcenter.com is run by VAs and people out of England, my developers, because that's a huge website that needs constant service work.
mhm,
Trainvirtualassistants.com is run by my VAs. I've been able to leverage employees to help me run these businesses. I don't have enough time in the day to deal with everything that's going on. And
yeah,
so same with you. The reason why Go Guru works is because you have leveraged people that do the work for you.
right.
Same with your agency. And so
Yeah.
I'll,
Like the idea that we could have, accomplished what we've accomplished
Mhm,
without tons and tons of people.
mhm, yeah.
Like you said, the individual agent always has a trouble letting go of things.
Mhm,
The agent themselves, somebody said it this way: the biggest bottleneck in a business is the founder of the business. Is Matt Timmon told me the biggest
yeah, yeah,
bottleneck?
yeah, yeah. That was on
Well,
stage. Yeah.
yeah, the biggest bottleneck is you.
Mhm,
You're not getting out of your own way because you're trying to control too many things. And
mhm.
so you have to hire, you have to use virtual assistants, hire people. Um,
You just need
there's
help. You need help,
yeah,
period. Doesn't matter where it's coming from, just find help. If you can
yeah.
call your mom and get her to work for free so you can go and grow your business, call your mom, call somebody, you know what I mean?
I think it was Gary Vaynerchuk that was talking about hire people before you think you need them.
Mhm.
Uh, Obviously not in a crazy way. Like, I don't know if I need anybody. I'm gonna hire 20 people, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I hire, if the way I look at it now is if I have one task that they can do that I'd really like somebody else to do, I'll hire, and then I can slowly get them more and more and
Mhm.
more tasks. And it's crazy now how quickly I feel like I'll get somebody that I'll have them 6 months, and I'm like, how did I ever live without them?
Mhm. Yeah.
Like you just adjust, and they're doing so much. But that's how the business grows. That's how I don't I don't believe, other than some sort of anomaly type of business with maybe
Mhm.
like influencer viral brand or something. I don't believe there's any
Even
way.
then, they're hiring, their
They have
camera guys and they're hiring their editors. They have to. You can't grow unless you don't want to. Like if you don't want to, then by all means, 20, 30 policies a month is very respectable. And that's something that you can do by yourself until you hit that cap of service work. And then all you do is maintain your business. And if you're okay and happy with that,
Yeah.
more power to you. That's completely respectable.
But
And
keep the 20 or 30. The real thing there, and a lot of times you're happy with it because you don't know what the other side's like. But
mhm,
imagine if I could figure out a stream, be it, seminars, webinars, whatever. I had a pathway to 20 to 30 T65s a month. And I could, okay, first I get that flowing. I'm going. I know the marketing, and then I offload this as much of the service and client retention efforts as possible
you
to
can
some
maintain.
employees.
Yep.
Then I can keep maintaining.
Mhm,
Then eventually I could hire a couple of LOAs,
mhm,
train them, and then get them doing all the sales. Now I'm just running the seminars or the marketing or whatever.
yeah,
Then eventually I could even do that. And then all of a sudden I have this business that operates without me. Guess what? When you go to sell a business, it's worth a lot more if it can operate without you.
yeah,
Also, you might not even need to sell it if it's just sitting there operating without you and printing you money. So you create a business is like a machine. It's like a money machine.
mhm,
You're creating a money machine, but all the while, at first, you're the machine. It's
mhm,
every appendage you have, going out and trying to make something happen. Eventually, you can get to the point where you're just the guy that's putting in a dollar and it's spitting out two, right?
yeah.
Um, that's the goal, right? So,
Well, and I think the biggest thing for me with all of everything that we just talked about with hiring people, just finding help. Doesn't matter where you find help, just find help. Find somebody to employ, whether it's in your office, whether it's virtually, whether it's a family member that you know, doesn't matter. Find help if you want to hit that next level. But let's say you don't want to grow, but you just want more time, more freedom for your family, it's going to cost you a little bit of money. It's going to cost you a little bit to invest back into your business so you can free yourself up to spend some time with your family. I mean, next month I'm doing Paris, I'm doing Spain. We're going to be gone for 3 weeks, and I know that everything that I have created is going to run itself while I'm away.
yeah, it is. Isn't it great? I love now. I'll travel, and not only did it maintain, but it grew.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had some of the most record weeks our office has ever had while I was
Mhm.
gallivanting around, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
Paris or something. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so that's really, really, really fun, and it's rewarding too
Mhm.
because you're sitting there and you create this machine where other people benefit from it, not just you.
Yeah.
Uh, some people, I won't go as far as to be like you're selfish for not hiring,
Mm-mm.
but I will say that you probably just don't understand how rewarding it is to see
Mhm.
other people, not just your customers, but your employees, your virtual assistants, your all these people who are able to feed their families.
Yeah.
They're making you more money, so you end up better off
Mhm.
buying your time back, giving you more money, and you're feeding their family. And
Mhm.
without that concept, capitalism doesn't work. If everybody just thinks, "Oh, I'm going to go out and make as much as I can make without helping anybody but my customer,"
Yeah.
then it's not. Imagine if every industry worked that way. You just have a bunch of rogue assholes running around trying to sell somebody something. Like it
Yeah.
wouldn't be. It wouldn't be. There wouldn't be all these places you work. There wouldn't be the places where your 16-year-old could get a job and start
Mhm.
getting life experience. There wouldn't be, retirements and all
Yeah.
these different things because not everybody's meant to be that. And so, anyway, that's the way I think about it. I think trainvirtualassistants.com, of course, is a great option for many, many people. We try to send people over there any chance we got. I actually tagged somebody yesterday in Monsters that was
Mhm. Yeah, I saw that.
talking about how to do something, and I was like, a virtual assistant would be an obvious way to offload this. And you can, So tell me just a little bit before we go. Pricing, minimum, maximum hours for an individual, that type of structure, so people know.
Okay. No minimums, no maximums, no contracts. You can try it for a week. You can try it for a month. If you hate it, no hard feelings. It's not for everybody. I understand. Um, it's a $500 startup fee, and then it's $10.50 an hour for English only, and $12.50 an hour for English and Spanish.
Yeah,
Uh, you can have as little as 5-10 hours a week. You can have as many as hundreds of hours a week, which we have both spectrums. Most of the people that start with us to try it out end up increasing their hours.
yeah,
Very, very, very few times do we get somebody that doesn't increase their hours. Usually they just realize that it's not for them, or actually what we find is people just realize that they don't really have a whole lot of work. And I'll be the first one to tell you that you just need to stop being lazy and do the work yourself. You don't have enough of a business to hire somebody.
Yeah.
But if you're struggling with your service work, if you're struggling with whatever's keeping you away from writing more business
Even
or
marketing. Even
marketing,
help in marketing,
yeah,
there's a lot of help that comes there. So,
yeah, yeah.
and with at 1050, you got to think, guys. When you hire someone stateside, you have payroll tax. You have you have different legal requirements. You have that you're having to deal with. You're having to set up what do you call it? Department of Revenue accounts, and
Mhm.
pay all the have actual payroll, and we
PTO.
do all that. But in the beginning, you're not necessarily having to worry about all that. So
Mhm.
it is, and it's very difficult for me to find somebody of quality in the States without paying them 20 an hour plus
Mhm.
payroll tax,
Yeah.
and potentially benefits even. So
Insurance benefits, PTO, time off. Yeah, all that good
so
stuff.
you're getting a good deal. You're also getting by paying that. What we're leveraging here is that TVA also has trainers that are helping train. And if something did happen to your VA or didn't work out, then they'll help you source another VA to replace them, get them
Mhm.
trained back up. So it's a service that you're paying for. It's a marketing cost, right?
Mhm.
Versus a payroll cost. So
That's
very a very different way of looking at it. And I want you guys to know, like, I was watching this deal yesterday from Alex Ramosi, and it was about brand and brand association. And when your brand is associated with quality service and doing awesome work, you don't have to be the cheapest. So I'm
Mhm.
not saying EVA is the cheapest. It's definitely not anywhere near the most expensive virtual assistant sourcing group, but it is not the cheapest out there. I don't want the cheapest. These people are going to be talking to my customers. I want to make sure we have good sounding people
Yeah.
that are polite and trained, and that there is a sophisticated, apparatus or communication between you and them on the forefront, and then we want also good quality customers that value
Mhm.
what they're buying. From my experience, when I sell the cheapest of something in the marketplace, I get the most whiny, pathetic agent
Mhm.
customers, or even consumer customers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, when you find somebody that wants quality, better people, and then they end up having a better result.
It's like selling a indemnity policy and calling it major medical.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're gonna have
It's,
somebody who's really mad one day.
I know. I have been there. When I first got an under 65, that's how I was taught, was standalone indemnity.
So,
Given that it was a weird era, new ACA plus
uh,
short-term medical, only 30 days.
good old 2012.
Man, I had one that's funny you bring that up. I had one that I wrote 10 years ago, indemnity plan. I think it was before CRM, didn't even know it was still in the books, husband and wife, and the husband was turning 65, and his wife called in and was like, I want to take my husband off of my indemnity plan. And one of our agents talked to him, or my health insurance plan, right? And he went somewhere else to get his Medicare because he said, y'all sold me this, told me it was the best thing in the world. And I'm like, first of all, I remember selling these indemnity plans. I never said this is the best thing in the
Right.
world.
Right.
Normally it was somebody that said, I don't want Obamacare. Don't give me anything with Obama's name on it. And so then we would get them to sign a form that
Yeah.
said, you're turning down Obama. You don't want Obamacare. And then short-term medical at the time was only in 30-day increments, so that wasn't really a solution. So then you
Yeah.
had, Philadelphia American, Manhattan Life, Affordable Choice, or HSP3s, and they fit that need at the time.
Mhm.
But we had to talk him back down because we were able to get his wife on ACA. The problem was, years ago, I tried to have my agents in the office like go out and find all those that were on the books, but this is just one we missed,
Mhm.
and it's been on the books all this time. And they probably should have gone to ACA, but even when we brought it up this time, they're like, "Oh, that's
Mhm.
garbage," and I'm like,
Mhm.
"No, no, what you're on right now in this market makes no sense
Mhm.
anymore." Like,
Yeah. 10
and
years
it's a
ago, it probably did.
conversation because and that's when I try to teach my kids this concept of presentism, like viewing the world through the lens that it is now. I actually had to give this lesson because Zach came to me. He was Zach Mass in the office. He came to me. He's like, these people are on this. She qualify for like almost free Obamacare plan. I don't know why I should be on that. And then I had to tell him, I was like, you're living under the Inflation Reduction Act in a
Mhm.
period where people can buy 2 and 3 years worth of short-term medical currently. You don't understand that at the time, and back in 2012 through 14, Affordable Care Act and Obamacare was like,
It was not.
it's like saying a racial slur to these people. I mean, they were
Yeah,
just like totally like,
yeah.
it's come a long way since then, in the branding effect of it. And so anyway, I had to try, like, give them, like, you can't take what someone bought in that market, and it'd be like somebody paying $500 a month for a Medicare supplement,
Mhm.
here in Mississippi now, that has the option of getting a zero premium PPO with a $4,900 maximum out of pocket. Well, it makes very little sense to have, like, let's say you have an $80 PDP and a $500 med sub. You're paying, like, $7,000 a year in premiums, and you got a $4,900 maximum potential out of pocket. Blue Cross PPO with, like, all their doctors in network, and they'll still be like, I don't want that advantage. What's in their mind from the time that they got in the market is different. And I'm not saying advantage is perfect, but there's a point where it's like, okay,
Mhm.
a little nonsensical to spend this much
Right.
money to avoid this. Like, yes, it's a little bit different, but it's not enough different to justify what you're paying right
Right.
now.
Or the
So,
thinking behind that. Yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah, anyway, didn't mean to go on that rabbit hole, but it's funny you brought that up because I just dealt with that and learning that. So also, same thing. If somebody's dealing with, well, I tried a virtual assistant 5 years ago. When I
Mhm.
got in the market, my dad, I remember, he was an agent, and he was a solid agent, but he did things old school. Didn't write PDPs, didn't write under 65, didn't write Medicare Advantage, meds up, meds up, meds up, meds up, final expense. That was the ratio. He was house to house, going to houses, right? And he told me, when I told him I started talking about Google or Facebook advertising, when I first started talking about it, he was like, "Don't do that. I tried it. Doesn't work."
One time.
Yeah. I mean, like, he probably had some, like, Haibu service. It was like, "We'll do some SEO for you." Charged him 500 a month for 3
That's
months. Like, I didn't get nothing, That's not trying it, right? Plus, that was a different time frame where people were really selling SEO like services, and
Mhm.
and they were garbage. But now we've come a long way. With Go Guru, like, Go Guru is not the same Go Guru that we had 3 years ago.
Yep. Yep.
It's come so far, and we've learned a lot about how to do better. I'm sure when you started, Eugene, with trained telemarketers, there's a lot of things that you've learned at this point that makes TVA and trained telemarketers much better now than it
Mhm.
was when you started. That's
I
just how businesses evolve. So, if you've used a virtual assistant, company in the past, and you're still struggling with the need for staff, I wouldn't let a long ancient, because 3 years in the marketplace now is like an ancient review.
Mhm. Yeah.
I wouldn't let that stop you from giving it a whirl, especially when we're talking about a minuscule expense to try something, right?
And
Um,
if you've tried a VA from an agency or a service that doesn't understand insurance whatsoever, which is
right,
not the same thing.
not
There's
at all.
if it's like hiring an answering service and then want them to sell your customer on an appointment. They're gonna take your call down, but they're not gonna do quality work for you.
Right. Yeah, and that's it. If you've looked at answering services, we looked at them back in the day before we started growing really fast, and I just said, I'm just going to keep hiring people. Um, like, that's a completely different thing. Somebody that has an extremely high call volume in the beginning, I can see the potential for them. But when you get a VA, you can train them to do so much more than just
Mhm.
be polite and answer the phone.
But
So
if the one task, the one because he said pick one thing to hire them for, if the one thing you need help with is just to answer the phone, schedule appointments, at
yeah,
least do it with a VA that was trained by a Medicare agent and agency that knows
yeah,
about.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and they'll become an asset. An employee becomes an asset over time. Like, they learn more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
So
Sponges.
just like salespeople. All right, Eugene. Thank you so much for being on today. If anybody wants to get in touch with Eugene, you can go to trainedvirtualassistants.com or
T
TVA
T-VA.com.
t-va.com, or they can email you too.
Yep. It's
Yeah,
just Eugene at T-VA.com.
t-va.com. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being on today. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Thank you.